Hello, welcome. We're back. We're back with Dr. Berg, and she's joining us today to talk about some mental health issues that matter. And I'm going to lead in with a question that is, I think, at the tip of everyone's tongue this time of year. Um, what are the holiday blues, and how do we get past it, or how do we work through it, or how do we live with it?
All right. Well, hi, Renee. It's good to be
Hi.
back.
Let's just
Um,
dive in.
yeah, great. We're trying to keep these short and sweet for everybody so that you can, chew on the chunk of nugget that we've just given you and hopefully get some takeaways. And the holiday blues are a real deal. It's interesting because in our profession, at least locally for me, we don't see a real increase in the need for therapy right before the holiday, but it's typically right after the holiday. People come in upset and sad and blue and stressed and unhappy with the way things went. And so that's sort of an aftermath holiday blue too.
Mm.
So, so yeah, they're a real thing. And I think there's some really major causes of what causes people to feel like overstressed or sad around the holidays. And it really starts with boundaries. It's hard for people to really set boundaries for themselves and for their families. You feel the sense of family pressure, the sense of pressure to go shopping, the sense of pressure to go to all these parties. And we find ourselves really not setting the same kind of boundaries for ourselves that we might elsewhere in life when it comes to Christmas. So that's one of the
Mhm.
biggest issues. I see a lot of clients who struggle with I would say maintaining family boundaries more than anything. So perhaps they, struggle to get along with certain family members, or they really don't like going to grandma's house or their mother's house or what have you, but they feel like they have to.
Mhm.
And in sessions, we are often focusing on um, trying to figure out ways to limit negative interactions with family or to just say no to going to mom's house or dad's house or spouse's house, because you have to go to so many usually when you have kids and everything. So learning how to say no or learning how to say, we're not going to do this anymore. That is probably one of the biggest things people struggle with. And when they're able to achieve a better boundary, whether it's less time, not going, just stopping in, or even moving it to a different day, they have a sense of relief when they're able to achieve that.
Yeah,
It's
because
pretty
you feel a
dramatic.
little bit of more control, maybe a little bit more power over your own life.
Yeah,
I kind of feel
yeah.
like I feel out of control over the holidays. I
It
just,
does give you control, and you have the right to say
yeah,
no. You're allowed to say no.
yeah,
You don't have to be obligated just because it's always been that way.
yeah. And I think that
One of the
that's a big
easiest
one.
ways I think to get, I guess, over that hump, if you are looking for a way out of something, especially if it's a family obligation, is to set new traditions for yourselves as a family. To say, this year we've decided that we're not going to do Christmas morning at your house. We're not going to come over for Christmas Eve dinner because we're setting a new tradition for our family and we're going to be doing X, Y, Z. And oftentimes other family members will accept that because it's not
Right.
really a no to you, it's a yes to what we're doing. So,
I like reframing that
mhm,
way, because also just like we're feeling stress about the obligations we have, someone who's relying on us to be their holiday thing, if we tell them we're changing it, that could be scary for them. So reframing it in the way that you did takes it so they don't take it personally. They don't think it's, something that they've done wrong, and they would appreciate that it's for you or for your family, you're doing something good, and it wouldn't be a negative. So I feel like that's a really great way, that's a really great tool for folks to be able to use that. That's
I
great,
know
thank
we've
you.
said this before, but I'm going to probably say it in every one of our sessions here is that yes doesn't have to, if you are going to say yes to something, yes doesn't have to be a complete yes. It can have stipulations
Hmm.
and also boundaries to my yes. Yes will come, but we're only going to stay for an hour. So it's okay to have a yes, sort of,
Right.
and to feel empowered by that. You have the right to say yes with stipulations or a hard no. So, I think another part of holiday blues comes from the over commercialization of the holidays.
Mhm.
You are inundated beginning in October with commercials for and pressure for what the holiday parties are going to look like and what you should be buying and what people are doing. And it begins to sink in, and we begin to compare ourselves to that. And then our
Yeah.
expectation usually can't meet that, what we see on the television or what we see on the internet. So I think keeping your expectations a little lower
Yeah.
and reminding yourself that what we're saying isn't reality. The parties don't look like that, not the parties I go to at least. Um, and I don't have to do all of that. I don't have to give, buy, buy, buy. So how do you do that? Budgeting. Have you set a budget for Christmas? Question to you, Renee.
Yeah, we set a budget for Christmas. I think also it's trying to recapture sometimes for some of us, especially those of us who have children who are now adults. They don't have kids of their own yet, so they still act like, they're children, but they're not children. They don't want to do childish things, but Christmas is a way for us to connect again. Um, I think sometimes I feel pressure to recreate those childhood memories for them. They don't want it nearly as much as I feel like they must. And they're willing to create new traditions. I'm the one that keeps bringing us back to, oh, let's recreate this picture that we took. So I think sometimes we're putting pressure on ourselves that doesn't need to be there also. I find myself doing it, and I'm totally guilty of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one way to get out of the commercialization and pressure to buy so much or to give so much
You have
to
to set a
children or
budget.
to your spouses or your family is to do something for someone else who is in need.
Mhm.
Whether it's you go and ring the bell at Christmas time, or
Right,
you do some kind of project where you're wrapping presents for kids in the shelter or what have you.
right,
And I think if you can
right.
involve your children in that,
Yeah,
it begins to it turns them into little Rotarians, but they also start thinking about others instead of what
yeah,
I want, what I need.
right.
But limiting that from the very get-go is super
Sure.
important. So if you're listening to this and you're a new family, it starts immediately.
Yes,
Just
it's never
scale
too
back.
early to start. We
Yeah,
had 6 children, and they grew up knowing that there were 6 children. There was no mystery to the fact that we were a military family with limited means. And Christmas was very much an experience, and it was kind of for us less about, the stuff. Well, the kids, of course, wanted
yeah,
the stuff.
yeah.
But I think now that they're older, we're worried, we're focusing more on experiences and things that we can do together. But I got to get away from trying to recreate and trying to live those old moments and making those new moments. And we've started to do that this year, and I have felt less pressure
Wonderful.
on me as a mom. And it was only in my own head anyway, so I was the only one that
Right,
was giving myself permission to chill out. But I've
right.
had a much better experience this year because of that.
That's
So
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
I
working.
I think people often do overspend at the holidays too, and so the aftermath comes in, when the bills come or the credit card bills are piling up, and they realize they've overextended themselves financial. So there's some people have that financial worry in the beginning, but also they don't control
Sure.
the impulse because they're either pressured by commercialization or family or what have you, to buy. And so
Yes.
that can be a long-standing impact afterwards too. So again, I think keeping your number one thing is like boundaries and keeping your expectations. No, I don't want to say low, but realistic.
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 Yeah, it just simplify things
And it goes
as
back to
simply as you can.
communication too. You have to communicate. I have found that when I think of things in my own head and I don't share them with the people around me, we're not all on the same page somehow. People cannot read my mind. So
Mm-mm.
I have found that communicating those boundaries, those new concepts, the way that you have your expectations set, telling other people that are in your circle those things are also it's also very important because we can set
Absolutely.
those boundaries for ourselves and make decisions for ourselves. But if we're not sharing it, other people might not be clued in
Mhm.
and they may act. or behave in a way that makes us feel like they're not, on the same page, it's probably because they're not.
Um,
We have to help them be on the same page. So I think communication during this time of year is especially big.
it
Big.
is. It
Yeah.
is. And taking care of yourself, self-care is so important. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. Um, but I will say that I see the holiday blues set in, especially for people who are experiencing grief or loss, or
Oh,
are away from family members, or
yeah.
they've lost family members. And that going through the first few years without somebody important in your life can really be a sort of an exacerbated grief process. So we do get a lot of holiday blues around loss, and or just simply being away from someone, whether they're deployed or work out of town or whatever it is, to not be with loved ones. And research is showing how important friendships are, and in addition to love ships.
Yeah.
So for those people, we always remind them to, try to surround themselves with people who do care about them, not just family, but friends, to try to build in some friendship time,
Mhm.
in addition to me time, in addition to wellness time for themselves, so that they can have that sense of caring that they might get from someone else. Another big factor is habits. I know you work out all the time. I work out all the time. You and I drink probably, 60 to 80 ounces of water a day. We eat pretty healthy.
Yeah.
But what happens at the holidays? Party, party, party,
I don't want
party,
to
or
talk
maybe
about it. I don't want to talk about it. I get busy. We're going on vacation. So for
right,
example,
you get
let's take that.
busy,
Let's take that.
people
Going
are
on vacation
bringing,
for the holidays. I'm
yeah,
leaving. I'm going to be gone 5 days. I'm not going to be going somewhere where there's a gym. So what am I going to do? My
well,
mental
you're gonna be
state.
walking a lot. You're gonna be walking a lot. So,
Right.
for me though, like, how can I remember to build in my healthy habits?
Yeah.
When I'm already, now I've got, more work, perhaps I've got to run errands now. I got to get
Yeah.
Christmas cards out. All the I have to's. I don't have to do any of that. It's my choice, what I
Yeah.
choose to do a little bit each day. But it's additional things around the holiday season that I enjoy, but it
Mhm.
may bump my healthy habits off a little. So I have to make sure that if I know I want to keep my stress level down and not become moody or irritable or depressed or anything like that, keeping your healthy habits in some way, whether it's a visual, whether it's a phone reminder. I use that a lot during this
Yeah.
season, um, because, people are bringing cookies to my office. I'm going to Christmas parties a couple
Candy
nights a
bowls
week.
are popping up on
Uh-huh.
countertops where they
Yeah, and
didn't used to
I
be
don't mind
before.
saying have one. It's,
Right.
have a cookie. That's fun. I can eat
Right.
cookies.
But don't have
Um,
12.
don't have 12, but just being gentle with yourself and allowing
Yeah.
yourself to enjoy it, and maybe step back a little bit, trying to ensure that you're still doing some of the main things that you always do. Even if it's, maybe a shorter workout, or maybe you're going to parties, so you're going to be eating and drinking more, and then hydrating more that night or what have you. So just
Yeah.
trying,
Hydration.
balance it out somehow. But you got to remind yourself to have the healthy habits versus just break them completely, which is what a lot of people do. And
Yeah.
then
And
they
I did,
have
I,
weight
yeah.
gain, and then they're miserable. There's
Guilt,
that guilt,
shame.
shame, right?
Yeah. I don't want to feel
All
that
of these
way.
things, create stress in your life. All of
Layer
these.
upon layer upon layer upon layer. And then,
And what does stress do? It causes you to feel fatigued. A lot of people report that they're tired around the holidays, because they're stressed, because
yeah.
they haven't set boundaries. Their expectations are too high. They've said yes to too many things. They've overcommitted. Their habits of health have gone out the window. Just all of it compiles, and that can cause a great deal of fatigue. So,
Yeah.
thinking about your sleep patterns and your sleep habits, and really trying to notice that if I am fatigued, something's off somewhere.
Right.
Figure out what it is, make a slight adjustment, get some extra sleep, take a nap. You don't have to be having to all the time. So
Yeah,
those are like the
sometimes I
big
get
things.
obsessive and I like look at my sleep score and I make sure my activity rings are all closed. And sometimes I think that it's really good. I need that accountability. But sometimes I feel like I focus too much on that and not enough about how I feel. So I've started really paying attention. And yesterday I was kind of feeling stressed. near the end of the day, and I looked at my husband and I said, I'm gonna go take a bath.
Mm.
I'm
Mhm.
gonna go take a bath. I need to do that. And you know that I never came back downstairs. I took a bath and then I texted him about an hour later and I said, I'll just be in bed whenever you come up. I'm just not re-engaging in life anymore tonight. I'm just gonna, and it was magnificent and I needed it. And I just needed to, take that time and I recognized it. And I think that's so important is sitting, not looking at the tab, not looking at your phone, not figuring out your score, your stats, your blood oxygen level, just sitting here and thinking about how does my body feel? How is everything I'm doing? Am I putting the pieces together? Am I putting my mental health right here with my physical health? And I think that was that moment where I went, I need a bath. I just need
And
to sit.
that's real mindfulness. Again, if you're overstressed and you're overdoing it and you're overcommitted, you're not going to be mindfully in the moment of whatever you need right now, whether it's just to be, enjoying the holiday, whether it's just, getting in touch with what's off. Mindfulness is also a positive thing. So taking moments in the day to, if you're at work or what have you, just stretch for a minute to just check in with your body. Where am I feeling tension? Why? To, take a 5 minute, just reprieve and close your eyes, listen to some bilateral sound
I
or
did
some
alpha
alpha
waves while I
wave.
was in the tub. It was amazing.
And keeping that alpha waves even in the background.
Yeah,
I love holiday music, but I also love my alpha waves during the day. Again, keeps you centered, tuned
yeah.
into your body, mindful, and it keeps all the stress hormones down and the stressors in the brain, the amygdala, is from firing. Um, but if you are finding yourself anxious or depressed or just moody,
Mhm.
something's off. If you're finding that you're fatigued, something's off. And do a self check, just what's going on with me. Take some time to yourself. Go, be by yourself for an hour or two. Do it repetitively if you need to over the course of a few days until you go, I know what it is. So as much rest as possible. I know it's harder around this time of year,
It
but
is. It
but
is.
finding those moments for mindful meditation, even if it's 5 minutes or stretching or just napping or whatever it is. And a nap doesn't mean you actually fall asleep. It's just rest. I do it at my
Laying
office all
down
the
like a robot.
time. I do it at my office all the time. Go and lay down for 15 minutes and just put on my alpha waves and just mindfully be present in my body. And then I'm refreshed. I don't sleep, but it's like just restorative.
Isn't it one of those places like on the Google campus or somewhere where they have those sleep pods where you can go in the little like egg thing and put the shade down and just it's like a desensitization chamber and you just sit there for I don't know 10, 15 minutes. They come
Yeah,
out of there rejuvenated and like, feeling re-energized and stuff. And I'm just like, I need one of those in my garage.
I'd love to have one, right? And they say it is so healthy to just relax and close your eyes, whether you fall
Yeah,
asleep or not. You can
yeah,
call it a power nap or anything, but it
yeah.
is so healthy for you. Heart healthy, lung healthy, blood healthy, mind healthy, emotion healthy. It just allows your body to just stop for a bit. The only time we usually stop is when we do go to sleep at night,
Right,
and sometimes that's even hard.
right.
So giving yourself that, I mean, if you could schedule in that kind of a break every day
Yeah.
of your work life or home life, if you're at home taking care of the kids, but when
Mhm.
they go down for a nap,
You go down for it.
you go
Yeah,
lay down for
yeah,
15 minutes
yeah.
and just be. It is unbelievably healthy. And I think that's one, I would say, wellness tip that we should all be incorporating into our lives as often as possible.
So we're gonna
So
power nap our way through holiday 2023.
yeah, and just,
That's what
set
we're
boundaries, keep your expectations lower, and
okay.
then, as you
Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
hydrate, you try to just have some healthy habits and get support if you need it. If you need to
Yeah.
talk to someone,
Hmm.
and if whether it's your therapist or a friend
Yep.
or a spouse or a family member,
Trusted
talk
confidant.
talk it
Yep.
through. And then after this holiday, if you realize there's something more there, find support
A
for
hundred
whatever it
percent.
is that's affecting you. If you want to say, you know what, I want to establish better boundaries with my family. How do I do that? Go see a therapist. They will help you do that.
I highly recommend 100%. That is my top recommendation, is everyone in the world should have a therapist.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree
Dream
with you
world.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah, and just
yeah,
make it your own. Make it special for you in a simple way, and for
yeah.
your family, whoever you're with. Just keep it simple. That's the best
Awesome.
advice I could really give, is really keep it simple.
I
The
don't I
simpler
don't
the
think there's
holiday, the
yeah.
better.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
don't think that there's much more to it. I really believe you're right. That's kind of the secret. We could all
Yeah,
do
but
that.
if you find that it's still lingering afterwards and you think it's more than
Yeah,
just the blues,
yeah.
seek some help, and you'll get it figured out,
It could be a
what's
pushing off
causing it.
point for a
Mhm.
lot of people. This could be, sitting inside and marinating in your thoughts. This
Yeah.
could be a great way to discover if you could benefit from a therapist in the future. I just think everybody should kind of contemplate it. I really do. I think it's important.
And I'd like to ask anybody who's watching this out there, to write into Renee and tell her what topics you'd like us to
Oh yeah.
discuss in the future. So we've done some basic wellness things in our first session. Last month it was November, so we talked about November being Movember. We talked about men in therapy,
Yeah.
and the power for them to be in therapy services. And now we're talking about the holiday blues. So whatever you
Yeah, give us some
want.
ideas. What is
Absolutely.
a topic? Yeah, what's a good topic? So yeah, shoot us
I
some
got a
ideas.
whole
Love to
list,
hear
but
from
we'd love to hear from you
you.
too. So, well,
Awesome.
listen, I
All right.
hope you have a simple and beautiful, happy holidays. And if it's not perfect, don't worry about it.
That's right. God, that's great advice. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mary.
All right,
Appreciate
see you
it.
soon.
Yes, thanks.